let's hope today has a bit less interruptions than yesterday. I feel it's mandatory for me to just quickly explain what happened a bit. So basically, midstream, Daniël and Dylan was trying to figure some stuff out, and I happened to log out of stream, and this message popped up on screen. I'm not familiar with Twitch. Turned out we were still streaming. I didn't know that. I thought we were completely locked out and stream went off. We logged back in and stuff was figured out, and then our internet kind of plummeted and we didn't know why, so we kind of had to fix that before we moved on. And since the time we've finished figuring out everything, it was the stream was almost at the time where it was supposed to end, so we decided to just cut it there for the day. So today we're doing a bit of a, as I decided to call it, a banter with Daniel, where I don't know if you checked out last Friday, if you popped in there. We had a little bit of a back and forth between me and Zane and just talking nonsense and having fun and stupid stuff like that. So I'm still going to draw, but we're going to have some fun today with some back and forth banter here in the office. At some point when Zane gets back. So yeah. I think I'm
doing that shit again.
It's just like offline, so just log in quickly and see if anything's happening. So yeah. So weird.
I'm not sure what I mean.
Because since we're offline,
Yeah.
so would the problem be with OBS?
I think so. Click on settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Settings.
Stream. Third one. Yeah, the stream key is there. Let me go see if you live on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. So, oh yeah. Sorry, Twitch is just giving us some problems. So, if this is live on YouTube, which I do not know currently, I apologize for the delay. Just give us a second to figure this out. But I don't know why we're getting these problems now. Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Yeah.
We gotta figure something out with Twitch.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this.
Okay, so I can still go on with the stream, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, Twitch is just giving some problems. I'm just going to draw, and while we're drawing, just go on with talking nonsense. Fortunately, I'm not going to be able to see the chat either YouTube or Twitch now for the moment. So you can comment amongst each other, but I won't be able to respond or reply to any of those until we're able to fix whatever problem this is. But yeah, so as you can see, since it's banter with Daniel, I decided to start today off with a very painful expression of Zayn that we started on yesterday. So if you know, may not know, Zayn has he has done some gaming videos and he's working on a few. So I'm redoing some of his postures and gestures, his poses for the avatar, so that the videos can be a little bit more versatile, because we do have poses but they all look, well, let me just show one of them to you, because they do not look very pleasant, I'll tell you that. So we're redoing the sad pose at the moment, but I think this should probably be called the anguish pose. So this was the previous one, and again I'll just say, this was when I started working here. It was when I started with digital art. I think I did improve somewhat. I don't want to blow too much smoke up my own rear end, but I think we're getting there. There's probably still a few changes I'm gonna do along the way, but yesterday I did start with sorry, my English isn't Englishing today. I did start with the main sketch and the idea of where the shading goes yesterday, so I think we can go on with that. I think we can get on Zayn's case of he fixes Twitch, because at the moment that's what he's going to do now. So just talking nonsense. This is something that happens really frequently. It's working on the wrong layer. Actually, now I just have to think of something to discuss about, just like fun facts or just something we can get to rant about. Obviously my knowledge is very limited, and some facts I might get a bit wrong, maybe a lot wrong. Hey, we can talk about, I like to talk about me personally, fun discussions, or the meaning of life. No, I'm just joking. Those are for special occasions. But I like talking about different cultures and history, stuff like that. So I can pull up a few fun facts about mythology and folklore. Oh, it's sticking a pole. Where was it going at with this? Oh yeah. And some, sayings that were a little bit twisted over the ages. For example, I don't know how many of you actually know this one, but why isn't this flippin' brush working? That one is working. Oh my good lord. I think I'm gonna have to close the program and open it up back again. This did happen previously. Now, hey, look at my fantastic wallpaper about Hellblade. Okay, I can rant about this because it's one of my favorite games. You can basically guess from my wallpaper. Hellblade is actually quite interesting thing since it's like a combination of different cultures back then and tackling the idea of mental illness, and I commend them for that. It's actually amazing how they made that game. I think at the time the team were about, there was 25 members in the team, which is kind of impressive that they managed to pull that off with that size team. And also interesting fact about the actress that plays Chenua, the protagonist of the game. I think her name is Melina Gergens or something like that. If anybody is watching this that actually knows the name, I'm sorry if I kind of butchered it or got it wrong, but so something that I did learn is she wasn't supposed to play the role as Senua. She was basically just a stand-in. Ah, there we go. So yeah, that's interesting. But she did such an excellent performance that they decided, okay, we're going to keep her, but I think they kind of did that against her will. But the performance, in my opinion, was quite excellent, and the way they performed Psychosis. Actually, if you play the game, you should play it with stereo headphones. Just it's more immersive because people that are kind of mentally ill in that way. I'm not talking about anxiety and stress, and then I'm talking about schizophrenia and actual crippling mental illness that entirely affects your, not just your life, but your way of viewing reality. I actually knew someone like that they were in my class, and the way they perceived reality was just unreal, and how that influenced their actions and just basically everything they do. It was something real. It was surreal to experience, and I wasn't even the person that was in those shoes. But the reason I'm talking about the headphones now is because some of the symptoms, and again, for everyone this is probably different, but they did interview a bunch of people that suffer from psychosis and base the game on their experiences. But one of the symptoms is you see faces and voices that doesn't exist, and they might tell you something that, or something that I did hear is you get these certain types of voices, and some of them lie to you and some of them tell the truth, and kind of messes with you. Though if I look at how the game presents it, it's kind of there's these two voices. Again, this is why you wear the earphones, is because the voices speak with you and they kind of swirl around you, so that kind of creates that illusion, or I almost want to say a simulation of the voices just randomly popping up around you and from different distances and angles. But there's mainly these I think it's two female voices, and then there's a third one, and I'm not going to give spoilers, but the third one is not necessarily her own voice or her own mind reflecting back on her. But in the game itself, and I don't know if this is with other people that struggle with psychosis, how I just want to say, how much of a part it is of their daily lives or how they experience it. But I did realize while playing the game, one of the voices is it's these they're really conflictive with each other, and one represents kind of self-doubt, and the other one is more of a positive reinforced voice. That's just something I noticed where while you might it's actually a fun game mechanic, like a lot of games that you play and there's enemies, you kind of get a visual clue of when the enemy is going to strike, whether there's a bit of a pause or some sort of, let's say, spark, just any sort of visual communication towards the player. Where in Hellblade it's a lot more auditory, so the voices will tell you, oh, he's gonna strike now, or oh, he's from the left, so you'd know, okay, now I need to dodge to the right and whatnot. Very interesting gaming mechanic, but again, coming to the roles the voices play in the game, probably should do that. And how I don't know if, again, this is just me, I don't know, I'm speaking out of, let's say, lack of knowledge, but out of curiosity. Is these voices kind of stem from self-doubt and just those thoughts that you kind of push down? Really, you really get the sense of that inner conflict with these voices. And I actually, earlier this year, I did go through somewhat of an, I don't want to call it the emotional breakdown, but it was a bit of a heavy year for me. And I already also realized that, okay, you kind of do get that two voices where it's, you have one that's very, I almost want to say hopeful that things are going to turn out the way you want it to, and then you have the other voice that's kind of just wanting to be realistic. It's working. Yeah, just hold on a moment. Yeah, that was an interesting discussion. I'm just going to pause it quickly here. Oh, you could have just asked me. I know it's out of my head. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about you do get those two voices in your head where one is a little bit hopeful and the other one is self-destructive. Isn't kind of the right word, more so I almost want to say grounded in reality, but at the same time it kind of breaks you down, where it looks at the now and not at the future, where the situation now is what it is and it's not good, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. You know, the only constant of life is change, and with that change we have to stay hopeful that things are going to turn out good. And what that basically depends on is your actions and how you want to perceive your future, or how you're working towards your future. If you're going to sit around all day and kind of just wait for something to happen, then it's not going to happen. You kind of have to work towards what you want. And truth be told, a lot of people tell you, oh, just do it. It's not really that simple. You kind of have to push yourself towards it. So it's understandable that people get stuck in if I can call it that, kind of loops or situations where once you get into the momentum of being depressed, you're going to stay depressed until. Am I back on Twitch? Cool. Maybe I should catch the people up. I'm just gonna check when we get viewers, then I'm gonna got up with them. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Oh. So yeah, it's. I know people. I'm actually talking to the people that's in a certain situation and people that knows people that's in a certain situation. It's not good to push someone, because the harder you push, the more how do you put this? The more setback you're going to get, resistance. The more resistance you're going to get. So there's definitely kind of a certain way you need to approach these situations, and I'm sorry to say this, but it might end up a bit manipulative. Manipulative, yes. Sorry, I stated this before, English is not my home language. I kind of have to sometimes break down the words. Oh, Rochelle finally popped up. Hi Rochelle. So just to give a rundown of what we discussed, we were talking about the game Hellblade and how it tackles mental illness and the way it reflects our daily lives. For the viewers on YouTube, the reason I just recapped quickly was because there was a viewer on, or Twitch viewers that popped on. So that's why I just gave a quick recap of what we were talking about. But yeah. And the sequel of the game also kind of, I felt the sequel wasn't as good as the first game, but there is certain themes it does handle well, such as I think the correct term would be parental trauma, and how your choices, or the choices you make, affect your future. Again, I really can't go too much into it without giving any spoilers, and I don't want to give spoilers because this is something you really need to experience for yourself. It's really a fantastic game, and story wise, again, as I said, I think the first game is better, but the mechanics are basically the same. The first game also, something it deals with really well is the concept of loss and how to deal with that. I can also basically go into the lower bit of that, but I think also something we can go into using the game just as a icebreaker and the concepts and themes they handle. We can also go a little bit into mythology and culture of the Celtics and the Norse, the Vikings. They weren't really, I think they weren't really called Vikings, they were just called the Norsemen. The term Vikings just mean basically they were mainly farmers. I don't really know where the term comes from, but I don't know if the term was used for the farmers, or if the term were created after the whole Viking saga. But basically, they were these two different cultures. So, Rochelle says her boyfriend is a Viking. Just please tell him not to rate this stream. We don't have a lot of money here. We just recently started making money. But yeah, Vikings were actually for the most part farmers, as I understand it. And the Celts themselves were mostly I think they were just generally not necessarily peaceful, but they were very paganish. I think the Vikings themselves, they also did this, as far as I know. Again, it's not my culture, I'm speaking under correction, but I think the Celts specifically also did human sacrifices. But yeah, again, I know a bit more about the Vikings than the Celts. And the only thing I really know is the Celts were very, again, as I said, paganish. They had a lot of these druids, and druids just basically I know a druid is kind of like I almost want to say a forest spirit, but I think it was a term they also used for their priests. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm gonna Google this. Yeah, it was a high-ranking priest also. So sorry, I just had to fact-check myself. I don't want to make statements and claim it as truth, so that's why I say I'm speaking under correction. This is just discussion and talking nonsense, and hopefully at some point the chat might get into somewhat of a discussion as well. Again, today is just nonsense talking like it was Friday. So if you guys feel like, and I'm talking to Twitch now, if you guys feel like you have any interesting facts you want to drop, then go ahead for it, and we can start a discussion on it. I think specifically, I know a little bit of Roman, Greek mythology and Viking culture and all that, but it's just basically bits and pieces of certain stuff, but I don't really have a field of expertise. I almost want to say where I fall in.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna basically talk about what I'm doing here. Why in the, I don't know why I have two outlines. Okay, that's fine, I only worked on one. Yeah, I'm making reinsteers white, and I think it's just because the type of cheese he uses in his lasagna. Michelle's saying she wants to talk about Greek mythology. Yeah, there's See, again, that's one of those things where you have the story and you think you understand the message behind it, but sometimes over the centuries it's kind of get lost. And I'm specifically thinking of the story of Icarus.
Talking about my lasagna earlier, but bro.
Yeah. We're talking about your lasagna. So the story behind Icarus and how it goes is he gets locked up with his dad. So I think again I'm just going to reverse a bit to get to why they're locked up. So I think this came with the Minotaur. So basically what happened was, I'm going to have to thumbs up this a bit. Basically I think this was a case of a king that I almost want to say was infertile in a way or something, and his wife looked at a bull and thought like that's a sexy bull, and they ended up having the Minotaur. And the king was so, well, I think she might have cheated on him with the bull. I don't really know what reason she ended up with the bull, but the Minotaur ended up being born, and the king were a bit, dishonored isn't the right word. He was shy about having the people know, like, okay, my wife gave birth to this thing, but obviously you can't kill it now. So he constructed the labyrinth, the maze, to keep the thing in. But over the years, I don't remember the reason why the X, Y's, and the Z's, but I think it was also something to do with the king putting out I almost want to, oh yeah, so basically you can't go into the maze to feed the thing. So what the king did is he asked people to go into the maze and kill it, knowing like, okay, people aren't going to be able to kill it, so they're just sending him a lunch packet or dinner into the maze. And most of the time they just end up being killed, and I probably presume eaten by the Minotaur. And I don't know, I think it was damn it, what's the guy's name? I'm just gonna fact check myself again. Okay. So I think what happened was Icarus's dad went in and he managed to kill the Minotaur, and for that he was locked up. And I don't know why his son got locked up with him again. I'm talking, take what I'm saying with an extreme amount of salt, because I'm thumb sucking the hell out of the story right now. There's probably going to, at some point, maybe in the future, some scholar is going to look at what I'm saying and it's like, what the hell is this dude getting at? But Icarus and his dad ends up imprisoned, and they manage to build these wax wings, and so that's their way of trying to escape the imprisonment, is flying out of it. And as the story goes, Icarus's dad tells him, don't fly too close to the sun or the wax will melt and you're gonna fall. And the dude flew, of course, too close to the sun, and the wax burned and he fell to his death. So the moral of the story basically was, it's a sense of don't be don't, not too prideful, but don't think too high of yourself. Don't I don't really know how to explain this exactly now, but don't overestimate yourself. So, something in the lines of that. So that's what people usually say the story was about. But I recently heard, and I don't know if this is exactly the truth, but the full story is something about he was imprisoned for so long that it was more of a in the lines of he would rather die for the sense of freedom because of the flight, and he's close to the sun. He would rather die of the sense of freedom and flying high than I almost want to say live grounded. Again, take an extreme amount of salt with this. This is just something I overheard, but that's just that bit of Greek mythology that I know. Again, there's also a lot you can take from the God of War games. Obviously, I'm joking, they did twist the stuff a bit. They did have this one character though called Midas. I don't know how many of you know about Midas, the king with the golden touch. Sometimes I tend to be a bit greedy with my money, then I would joke around about me being a Midas. I don't really know if he's from Greek mythology, but they did end up putting him in the game. But basically the story behind that is this very greedy king that ends up making a wish. I don't know how the wish ended up coming true, but he basically wished. I think that he was the richest noble or king in the world, and what basically happened was everything he touched turned into gold. So at first it was all, fun and games. I touch my tablet, it turns to gold. I touch my keyboard, that turns into gold. I touch the webcam, that turns into gold. Now everything's gold. He's the richest person in the world. And now the real problem came. There's actually two problems that came, but let's begin with the lesser one, or lesser one in his eyes. This would probably, practically speaking, be the greater issue. But he discovered he can't eat anything because everything he touches turns to gold. So you want to have some KFC, the chicken is going to turn gold in your hands. And obviously I think this wasn't just that the wish didn't just affect his hands, I think it was his entire body to an extent. So he couldn't even consume food or drink because it would turn into wine, into gold. So that was his dilemma. And then the other part that I think came of it was he had a daughter, and at some point he wanted to embrace his daughter. It was this really kind-hearted and pun intended golden-hearted girl. But when he tried to embrace her, obviously she turned into gold. End of the story. And also this is just type of a moral story. It's not in itself woven into Greek mythology as far as I'm concerned. But the story ended up with he learned that money isn't the most valuable thing in the world. There's other stuff that's more valuable. And at this point we call it the curse ended up being lifted. And he got his daughter back and he's got his appetite back, so he went back to being fat. Not that he necessarily was fat beforehand, but just kind of a joke. I did also see artwork that somebody did that was kind of I think it was very cool, where they basically depend. You. Sorry, I think we disconnected for a moment. I was talking about this artwork about Midas and the specific artwork that he did, which was basically he was depicted. Imagine Silver Surfer, just his body was completely gold, and the only things he wore was sandals and a cape that was made out of skin, which I thought that was kind of interesting concept because he has this golden thing and he can't really touch skin or anything without it turning to gold, so he wears this cape of skin just to feel a sense of, I almost want to say, humanity again. That's maybe just me reading too much into other artists' work, like art critiques usually do, but I think that was just a fun concept and idea to play around with, if I'm correct in that sense. Let's think of something else we can also talk about. We can go into other mythologies as well, or folklore stories, like stuff the brothers Grimm usually told them. I remember there's this. Before I go on with that story, there's this one specific story that they talked about. The Princess and the Frog. Most of you should probably know how it goes. If you weren't told this as a kid, you probably did see the, I almost want to say the bastardization version of Disney. But basically, how the original story goes, or the story we supposed to grow up with, I grew up with, was it was this prince that was cursed into a frog, and this little girl, the princess, she was playing with a golden ball, and the golden ball accidentally landed into the pond. And then when she went to the pond, she saw this frog. I'm not quite sure how the interaction went, but she ended up kissing the frog and the frog turned into a prince. And then they ended up married and happily ever after and so forth. But in the original story, it was actually quite funny. It's very similar up until the point where she kicked the golden ball into the river. And what happened afterwards was the frog kind of tricked her into saying, okay, let me come to the palace with you, because now obviously it's a talking frog, her dad's going to be interested in this anomaly, so take me to the palace with you and I'll give you your ball. He takes the frog to the palace with her, and she gets a ball, and then they get to the palace and the dad is like, oh wow, a talking frog. And through some discourse again, the frog ended up at the dinner table for some reason. They probably fed him a bunch of flies, I don't know. And then it came nighttime and the frog, I think the princess went to bed, I don't know. They had a different accommodation for the frog, but he basically snuck into a room and tried to get a kiss. But right before he could kiss it, the princess woke up and she basically gave him one hell of a slap, and he kind of flew across the room. And the moment he hit the wall, he turned into a prince. So it wasn't first love kiss that broke the curse. She just like smacked the curse out of him. And I think that's really funny. I don't know why Disney didn't adapt that bit. But I think that's one of the most, because a lot of these fairy tales were originally very gruesome and grim. The, it's not something you would usually tell your child, you know. But then again, public executions were like a fun time thing for them to go watch. It's like you know, your dad watched the news and your mom watches soap operas. Public executions were their version of that, so we shouldn't be too surprised at different cultures and stuff. But yeah, a lot of those stories, I actually think, I don't know, I don't really care how you get your hands on the book, but get your hands on the Brothers Grimm book. Just want to check here quickly. Okay. Sorry, I don't know why we're having this trouble with our internet. Like sometimes I try to work and look at the chat sometimes, and sometimes when I look, I just see, oh, offline, and to an extent, it's a bit discouraging. But yeah, what I was saying a moment ago is, I don't really care how you do it, though. For argument's sake, I didn't promote this idea, but get your hands on the Book of Brothers Grimm, and you're gonna read a bunch of these old fairy tales in their more original form. Like not all of them are completely original, but some of them are. So you can go read those if you want. Also, something you could probably go get is the Poetic Edda. So, Rochelle, you talked about your boyfriend being a Viking. So, the Poetic Edda is basically a book containing a bunch of stories of Viking mythology. Vikings originally, they how do I put this? They didn't write down their stories or their religion. They basically through generations they passed down the religion uh, through through verbal ways. They told the stories, and the children told the stories to their children, so it was passed down orally. Nothing was written down. So the Poetic Edda is compiled by, I think, way back when, scholars that basically put these stuff together based on what they know about Viking mythology and religion and stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff in there about Odin and what's it, all the names for Fenrir. This was Fenrir, Jormungandr, Hela. I'm just giving the names of a bunch of the monsters and the gods and goddesses. Oh yeah, I think this is really funny. Um, the gods also kind of have their own version of I almost want to say segregation, where you have I think you would call them the Valhalla gods, and you call the other group the Aesir gods, where like you think, I'm going to use modern day Christianity as an example of that, where you have the physical realm, which is basically earth, and then you have heaven and hell. So let's basically say those are the three realms. The Vikings have, I think, 9 of them. where Valhalla was basically their version of heaven. Asia was just the other version of Earth. Like imagine that the Garden of Eden was its own reality thing. Well, that's how I imagine Asia would have been. Uh, so yeah, and I think what was the woman's name? Odin married one of the Asian gods as kind of like a political thing, as if I'm correct, because there was a large amount of beef between them. The Valhalla gods were really, some of them were a bit of a-holes, if I can put it like that. I know Thor was a bit of a warmonger, and I think when it came to the giants, there was a bit of a genocide going on there concerning him. But yeah, really you can go look at the poetic era. There's some interesting stuff going on there. Oh, and for the Marvel fans, let's talk a bit about Loki. I'm gonna pop your bubble a bit here. Um, Loki. If I have my facts correct, he wasn't exactly Thor's brother. He was more so of Thor's Thor's uncle. Um, and Hela wasn't their sister. Hela was the daughter of Dingesis Loki. I don't really know. Loki had what happened a lot of the time, like this the folklore about let's use for example the rabbit and the hare. There was a bunch of stories like that where Loki was a bit of a trickster, but more often than not, his plans backfired on him spectacularly, and in some of those cases, he ended up pregnant, or he ended up with someone getting pregnant, and I think Hela was part of a triplet where it was her, Jormungandr, and Fenrir. And Jormungandr was basically the world serpent, this giant like sea serpent that wraps itself around the world. And at some point, it's going to get so big, it's going to start eating its own tail. I think when you go look at just general Norse or Viking jewelry or stuff, you would probably end up seeing the image of the snake eating its own tail sooner or later. And Fenrir was it was basically this giant wolf, but the Vikings, not the Vikings, the gods got this prediction that Ragnarok, which is basically their term for the apocalypse, when that happens and all the gods get killed or whatnot, it's going to basically be this wolf. But it's so funny that a lot of time with the prophecies, the way it ends up being true is because the people try to avoid it, and in the way they try to avoid it, it basically it ends up being true. So what happened was they tried to chain Fenrir down, and one of the gods to what was his name? It wasn't Balder. I think it was Tyr. Yeah, I think his name was Tyr. He was their version of the god of war, but he was actually kind of a pacifist. He didn't really like fighting and all that a lot. So he basically went up to Fenrir and he jammed his hand into its mouth and basically said, um, I don't really know exactly how this went down, but he said, okay, but you can bite off my arm if X, Y, or Z happens. And when that happened, he did bite off Tyr's arm. And there was a bunch of other stuff that I think it was specifically the Valhalla gods did that basically pissed off Fenrir, and he ended up causing Ragnarok just because they were a bunch of ales to him. And if they weren't such scared Gangasis, scared wussies about it, he would most likely not have caused Ragnarok, but since the prophecy scared them that much is basically what happened. A third hair. No, Zain, have you heard of the third air? It's basically Rusha was talking about this and she basically said you can see in a comment. It came out of the God of War apparently. We should probably look that up.
Yeah, I'll look at it and see.
Yeah. So again, Zane makes gaming videos. So that's if it's an indie game that's not too expensive, maybe we can get Zane to do a review on it. If the game is still kind of new or not as popular as modern AAA games, because we did release a video on Withering Waves, which is basically a gacha game. It's free to play and you can get it on Steam. I have it in my library. I haven't played it yet. I should. Yeah, Zane's been on my case about it for a while now. But yeah, you can go. Which channel is the videos on? The EIE Gaming. You're gonna look. You can go look at his stuff on EIE Gaming, and he also streams his games on. It was Joyboy Z. Joyboy Z. You can go to his Twitch and watch him stream late at night while I'm asleep. Oh, Rushal said the game was Hellblade. We actually started off the conversation with Hellblade. It's actually one of my favorite games. I'm gonna show you. The reason we started talking. Yeah, the reason we started talking about it was because my wallpaper is Senua, the protagonist of the game. Yeah, so the reason you kind of missed that was we started streaming at 11, but Twitch was being a bit difficult. Like Zane figured out the problem. I didn't know what the problem was, but Zane figured it out. So you can actually, if you want to, when the stream is done, you can go rewatch this on YouTube and you can see the whole discussion we had about Hellblade and mental illness and stuff. because the game, a big role the game's mechanics is uh, tackling psychosis, and they use that's a big part of the game's puzzles and mechanics. So we did have a discussion about that, of the first game and the sequel. Uh, so because we already did have a discussion about it, I'm not gonna talk about it again, just for the people that um, was already tuned in. But you can go check it out after the stream's done. So yeah, Hellblade is one of my favorite games, just purely for the narrative. Well, there is this one bit that I despise, where you basically get chased by a fire monster, and I don't like that. I don't like being chased. I like being the one that chases. I like being in control. Gameplay wise, two games that I really loved, and the vibe that you get from them, they're really opposites. Uh, just for the hell of it, I'm gonna talk about Assassin's Creed. I played a lot of those games. Unfortunately, I haven't played Assassin's Creed 3. I really want to at some point, but I think out of all the games I played, Black Flag was my favorite. So the gameplay did get a little bit repetitive at some points, and I did hear that was the same problem with Assassin's Creed 3, but I don't care. It's fun. I get to be a pirate, and in Assassin's Creed 3 I get to be a huge, bulky Native American. So what more can a guy ask for? But also gameplay wise, the other game that I really loved was Sunset Overdrive. Yes, that was such a fun game, eh? I wish they would make a sequel of that game. Oh, so Rochelle just mentioned a game that the boyfriend used to play. And I actually know which game she's talking about. She's talking about Plague Tale Plague Tale Innocence. The sequel is Requiem. I have that game on Innocence. I have on Steam. That's also a fantastic game. Um, narrative wise, I don't want to say it's like Hellblade, but that I'll say it like this: the vibe you get from the game is a lot of Hellblade. It's very um, it's atmospheric. It's very eerie. It's handles dark themes. It's an excellent game. I'd recommend that to anyone that wants to play that. Actually, Hellblade wise, I did play the sequel, but with Plague Tale, the sequel Requiem, it's on my wish list on Steam, but I haven't really gotten the chance to play games recently. Again, this is the reason why Zayn's on my back for Withering Waves. Um, but when I do end up getting the game, my PC won't get a break, because that game, the mechanics in that game was like excellent. It was really fun. By the way, for the guys wondering, some of you may know, some of you don't. The reason a bunch of this stuff is yellow It's just a layout of where the shading are supposed to go. And actually, I think out of all the poses I did, this one is the most expressive. Zane looks like he's in so much anguish. Not the actual Zane. Like, I do not condone violence unless it's in video games. Because I don't like Tetris, but I do not condone violence. But seeing Zane like this, I'm really just, I would be content taking a shotgun and ending his misery. That would be a form of mercy kill. Not actual Zane, but destroying of Zane. I think it would be mercy kill to shoot him with a shotgun. He's already got a hole in his heart. Just might take that figuratively and make it literally. I'm sorry, my guy. Real Zane is fine. He's chill. He's out to the garage to go get some pies. Maybe a Coke. So yeah, you know, it's fun to talk about other people's religions and mythology, but then it's so sad looking at your own and seeing how it's not necessarily bankrupt, but we are at kind of like space and time in the moment where it's not really well known. Which I think is a bit sad. Like, I know a lot of the folklore and tales from my culture, but people in my culture don't really know it. But I think that's just mainly because of the times we live in. Again, I grew up in a kind of a bit of a backwater area, so I did get to learn a bunch of these stories where other people I know didn't. But and I kind of see that as a blessing, honestly. Actually, if I do someday get to be an author or somewhat of a 2D animator, something in those lines, I would actually try to revive some of these stories in certain ways. It's like Disney reviving fantasy about the tales of the Brothers Grimm, but I wouldn't sugarcoat my stories. I tell them like they are. Disney has a tendency to sugarcoat their stuff for the kids. I don't like PG and I don't like censoring. If your kids don't like blood and stuff, that's not my problem. If you want them to go watch some goofy stuff, go make them watch Cocomelon. I'm not for Cocomelon. I'm for Tom and Jerry. We are living in violent times, and Tom and Jerry just prepared us for the times we live in. I don't know. I don't think you guys would have probably done this, and I don't really know the age group of everybody watching this, but me and my mom was also a huge Tom and Jerry fan. So at some point, I basically told her, because I think I got this on YouTube, where we went and kind of watched the entire Tom and Jerry series, not the entire series because it's still ongoing, but um, from the pilot up into the, I think, 2000s, we watched those episodes because those mainly the episodes I grew up on, and the art development is also kind of crazy because I think in the first episode, Tom looked so different, man. Jerry kind of looked the same throughout the entire series, but Tom went through some changes, man. Where I think in the pilot they actually looked like a cat. He still looks like a cat, but okay, Zane looks kind of weird here. I'm just going to finish his hair. Which is also a fun topic to talk about. Which other religions can we pick at? Dead religions. I'm not going to go into stuff that's already existing. That's just asking for trouble. I would actually like to talk about ancient Egyptians. I don't really know too much about it. As a kid, I had a huge interest in it, but my knowledge only kind of went as far as little booklets and snippets we had in magazines. I didn't grow up with internet, so I basically figured out what the internet was when I was 14. Yeah. And at that time, the Egyptian religion interest kind of like faded away. But I don't really know much that I can talk about besides a bit of the culture. Oh, there's some stuff I can tell you that I really probably shouldn't on Twitch. Whoa, man. No, that's probably not a good idea to talk about that stuff. But, okay, this is a fun one. I don't know if any of you ever watched Mr. Peabody. But what they did was, if you are married to the pharaoh, I think the Vikings did something similar. But if you are married to the pharaoh and he dies, then you get to die with him. And then basically, the way they preserve the bodies, they kind of, how do I put this in a PG version? They remove everything that is not the skin and the skeleton. They remove everything that's not that. Then they would put, I almost want to say, they would rub you in some sort of oil and wrap you up. That's the mummification process. And they would stuff the sarcophagus with a bunch of like food and weapons and stuff to prepare them for the afterlife. The Vikings kind of have something similar, where they would not kill the wife of the Viking, but the life of they would kill the servant. The servant needs to die with the owner. Poor Zane. I actually just want to pull up a reference. So this is a pose I did of Dewald. The reason I'm pulling this up is so Zayn is kind of gnashing his teeth in this image. And I had a previous pose of Dewald that I drew where he's also kind of gnashing his teeth, but it's not. I didn't draw two bricks on top of each other. I actually kind of drew somewhat of the teeth. So I'm just going to open this up and look at how I did that one. Yeah, you can see I did it's not a brick. So we're just going to look at this. Symmetrical wise, the front teeth would be about here, so I'm just going to make a bit of a dip there. I'm not going to go too extreme with this. Maybe just with the canines going a bit deeper. And then the molars would kind of start here. But again, because he's gnashing his teeth so bad, what I want to do when I start to color him, you know what, I'm just going to merge with this. I can call this outline on this one. Yeah, unfortunately I have the habit of drawing on the wrong layers. Let's just check. I did drag in. Just gonna quickly select that one. So I am going to color the gums, his gums, but I'm not going to do an outline for them. I'm just going to color them, and that's basically the same what I did for Dewald here. As you can see, I just colored it. I didn't actually do outlines for him. I feel like I was busy with the topic and I kind of went astray. We were at a point talking about pharaohs and Vikings killing when a pharaoh or person of high class dies, they kind of killed the, like, Vikings wise, person of high class, they kind of killed the servant with when we're talking about the Egyptians. When a pharaoh dies, they kill the wife with. What?
That's about the pivots. You walk from the conversation outside. Walking, yeah, it's like, yeah, the fucking Egyptians.
What conversation did you have?
We were talking about Sneeko and how they unbanned him off of YouTube. Sneeko's back. And we were also just talking about how Sneeko started out. Like, Dylan was watching him when Sneeko was like 13. And
we were discussing all types of the ways people die.
Oh, very cool. You know what's a good thing to watch on that? Is, you know, Meat Canyon.
Yeah.
He did a video on theme park or amusement park deaths, like on roller coasters and stuff. It was, I mean, it's sad, but it was a funny watch. Like he makes it quite entertaining. So if you're into that, just type in Meat Canyon and then like amusement park accidents.
I don't think it's necessarily what is the animation.
No, it's not. It's
Okay,
not,
then
it's
it
not,
would be Papa Meat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Meat Canyon is a other YouTuber that does very like horrific. And horrific, what I mean by that, he does animations, but he kind of makes it in a gruesome, gross kind of way. But he also have a second channel called Papa Meat, where he just it's kind of like what we do. We discuss stuff.
Yeah, he
and
touches on certain topics.
Yeah, he touches on certain topics.
And then he has a third channel as well, which is Meaty Magic, which he does the magic cards on the Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, very. If anyone in Twitch chat is just wanting some or an entertaining YouTuber to watch, I recommend Meat Canyon and Papa Meat.
I've been following Meat Canyon for quite a while. I think one of his first videos. This is actually something funny. One of his first videos. Do you know the one about rabbit season?
Yes.
So in that skit, what he did was he basically did something about you know how you have hunting season, and what's the character called, the one with the gun?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll Google it for you.
Yeah, just Google it quickly. So while he's googling it, I'm just going to go on with the story. So it's hunting season, and this guy's hunting him, which is googling his name. And what ended up happening was Bugs Bunny pulled the reverse on him. Elmer Fudd ended up hunting Bugs Bunny, but Bugs Bunny completely pulled a 180 on the dude, and he ended up being how do I put this? He ended up being a predator, if I can put it like that. Bugs Bunny ended up being a predator, and he hunted Elmer. And with that being said, he's got a name for himself in the skit. Bugs Bunny is registered. I'll put it like that. And then Warner Bros. And this is actually what happened. This isn't part of the skit. Warner Bros. Without watching the video, they just saw, oh, this dude made a video about Bugs Bunny. So what then happened was they kind of, I don't know if it was a lawsuit or something, or a copyright thing, but they ended up making it they didn't watch the video, and they just decided, okay, we're gonna make this canon. So Bugs Bunny is canonically a registered predator because they didn't watch Meat Canyon's video. Now I just want that to happen with Mickey Mouse. I have a serious distaste for Disney. We should probably kind of not make the gum so bad. Now when I look at this, I think of gummy bears. Now you can see this dude is in pain. I'm sorry, Zane, your character is suffering. I sometimes get upset because I would like to make certain jokes on stream, but I know I can't. Zain, shoot up another topic that we can talk about. Well, maybe I've one. Gordon Ramsay. So I don't know. I don't think it was that long ago back. So me and my little sister, sorry, me and my little sister, we like to watch this one YouTuber called why is my head lagging? Flippin' hell. Uncle Roger. We like watching Uncle Roger, and he basically judges other people's cooking, and he judged this one bit, Gordon Ramsay, and he made a grilled cheese sandwich, and it was completely horrific. You wouldn't expect this from a chef from his caliber to create something as bad as that. And I mean, it's a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't know how the hell he messed that up, but somehow he did. Sorry, Gordon, but you messed up, and there's nothing we can do about it. He basically, what he ended up doing was, he took, like, when you make a grilled cheese sandwich, the bread slices usually aren't that thick. So he took cheese of a specific bread, and the bread was already kind of dried, and he took like these big chunks of slices, and he used that for a grilled cheese sandwich. And then he decided to use some weird cheese that they don't really melt easily or well, and he put that on the bread with some type of sauce with a weird name that I can't pronounce or remember. And he put it in a pan and put the pan inside of a fireplace, so you didn't have any controlled heat. And what ended up happening is the bread burnt and the cheese didn't melt. And that was a grilled cheese sandwich that Gordon Ramsay made. And if that is what Gordon Ramsay considers a grilled cheese sandwich, then I'd rather stick with my poverty sandwich, grilled cheese sandwich. Sometimes, okay, I'll put it like this: cheap food isn't healthy, or tasty cheap food isn't necessarily healthy, but if you use the right ingredients in moderate amounts, you can make a healthy meal that is tasty. You don't have to go to some Michelin star restaurant to get that. You just need to know how to properly cook your own food, man. And Zain can tell you about this because the dude knows how to make lasagna. I don't know how healthy the lasagna is, but we just presume it's very healthy. Yeah, I don't really know how to cook much, but I can bake a mean egg. And I don't know if I actually should say this, but to hell with it, I'm gonna say this. I can enjoy a good English breakfast. I don't necessarily like beans on my toast, but I can get behind a English breakfast. And I can make some good French toast. That's something I can say. And anybody who says otherwise are lying. Don't believe them. They Zane would know they're lying. He knows I can make tasty French toast. He never had some, but he knows it.
Game that Michelle was talking about earlier was a rat's tail.
It's a plague's tale.
A plague tail, that's it.
Yeah, I did figure out when she kind of gave a bit of a description of the game.
Yeah.
That was like, because I know that's in my Steam library, and the sequel is in my wish list.
That's really
So I kind of when I read the description she gave, I immediately knew. Oh, it's a plague's tale.
Yeah, plague tail.
Zane also and I have been quickly come here. I just want to quickly show you something on the screen.
What's that? What was that?
That bit.
Hey.
What you did. What you did.
You know, I was just in the sun too long.
Oh.
So just meltingly hot right now. That's
Yeah, Zane is a residential hard worker. Damn it would be hella scary if he turns out to be a zombie one day, because he would kind of track you down like a hunter. It's a certain skill. Man don't need sleep, he only needs brains. Yeah. So Zane, what would you prefer? When it comes to zombies, let's say the apocalypse hits, would you prefer the slow zombies or the Resident Evil zombies?
Yo, really? That's so much. What kind of question is that?
Resident Evil do have slow zombies though.
I think the Resident Evil ones and the slow zombies are just the slow ones.
But you know Resident Evil 4 zombies, when you shoot off their heads, there's like this tentacle thing that pops out.
Oh, but they're still slow.
It's slow, but it's horrifying. Would you play? Do you actually play like AAA horror games?
Not the AAA ones, but I do want to try the new Silent Hill that came out.
Yeah, I was just about to bring up the new Silent Hill. Because I do know why you would like to play that game. But yeah, the trailer and the visuals of that game is insane. I did see a short of one dude complaining about the animation and stuff, but I just like, dude, you're full of it. Just nitpicking small stuff. Yeah. Actually, Zane, there is my friend sent me a trailer of a new. I don't really know when a game's releasing. But it kind of looks. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but I think it plays off in uh, I don't know, I'll show you the trailer, but it's a first person thingy. Not necessarily shooter, but it almost reminds me of Evil West. I don't know if you ever played that. That's also a good game. So for those of you who don't know, Evil West is basically you're this. It does take place in the Wild West, but you're basically this vampire hunter, and you get these electric gauntlets. We've been talking a lot about games today and cultures. I wonder what next Wednesday is going to be like. And Friday we talked a lot about South African folklore and monsters, cryptids. You know, actually a cryptid that I really like. I like jackalope. And the reason I like the jackalope is when I was a kid, we had a book full of mythology and cryptids and just generally those types of stuff. And I came across the jackalope, and I immediately fell in love with the thing because I read that it enjoys whiskey. And I don't necessarily enjoy whiskey, but I can appreciate a good beverage now and then. And I thought it was very easy to catch the jackalope because I can just like set up a trap with whiskey, and then I can show my friends I have a rabbit with deer antlers, and I'm gonna use it as a guard dog. It's like nobody's gonna come and break into my place. I have a jackalope. Who needs a Rottweiler when you got a jackalope? And you know what? Something I also want to get. I want to get like a extremely giant pool. I'm one day. I don't know how. I don't know when. I really don't know how, but I know. I just know it. I can feel it in my spine. One day I'm gonna be a billionaire. And I'm gonna buy myself a mansion. I'm gonna build a huge pool behind the house. Then I'm going to send someone to catch the kraken for me, and I'm going to put the kraken in my swimming pool, and that way I don't need a fence for intruders because I have a jackalope and a kraken. And if somebody tries to break in, I'm just going to that's just another way for me to feed the kraken, because I think there's a lot of politicians we can throw in there, and I can just the jackalope can live off of whiskey. When you're rich, you can afford whiskey, and depending on how good of a guard dog he is, that will depend on the quality of the whiskey. So if he does his job well, I'll reward him with tastier whiskey or higher quality whiskey. So I can just imagine, forget about a rabbit with deer antlers. Think of a rabbit because he drinks whiskey. And I think like this distinguished gentleman, now you have a rabbit with deer antlers in a suit with a tie and what do you call, I think it's, let me just check, monocular and a top hat with a wine glass. That would be funny as hell. Now I want to draw that. I want to draw it. I want to show it to Daniël, and I wanted to post it somewhere. maybe do a 3D animation of it. Damn, that would be so funny. And I'll get somebody to voice him as well. And who would be a good voice actor for a character like that? Someone with a extremely deep voice. Peter Cullen. If you don't know who Peter Cullen is, he's the voice actor for Optimus Prime. So I think he would be an excellent fit for my Jackalope. And you know what I will call my Jackalope? Me neither, but we'll figure that out. Once I get my Jackalope and I look at his personality and see his physical traits, maybe as like a black eye or something, we can give him a name based on that, like I do with most pets. Dude, that would be such a flippin' amazing, like even just a sitcom, that would be Dudes, I swear the best ideas just come from the most random conversations. Like I know a lot of ideas come from people that just they sit at bars and get drunk, and they're talking about, you know, this would be cool, that would be cool. Oh no, forget about Peter Cullen, the guy who whoever did the voices of, I think it was the peons in World of Warcraft, the third game. We need that voice for the Jackalope. And Ryan Reynolds can play the Kraken. And I'll play myself. And we can get the, you know, we should get like a really ugly cryptid, like an extremely ugly looking cryptid, and then have somebody that can do a seductive feminine voice and give that to that ugly cryptid. That would be just flippin' funny. I know I have a weird sense of humor and it won't fit in with a lot of people, but I think that's a good concept. Speaking of good concepts, in high school we had the idea of making a series, even if it was just a comic, where each episode we would handle the topic of funny ways people died, because I know the one dude, there's just two instances of dudes dying, where the one, he had an extremely long beard and he ended up tripping on his own beard and he broke his neck because of it. And then the other one was a dude that he laughed at his own joke so hard he couldn't breathe, and he died because of how much he laughed at his own joke. And somehow I kind of feel that might be me, because I'm just sitting here talking to a camera and laughing at my own jokes.
I'm a fucking pain, bro.
While you were gone, I told the people, not the real Zane, not the real Zane, but this specific character that I'm drawing, he looks like he needs a shotgun. This is when you're trying to sleep, right? But then on a Saturday morning in the kitchen, your mom gets busy with all the pans and the pots and stuff, and they're just making. You swear they're making as much noise as possible just to wake you up or be spiteful. Like the entire week, you get up at 6 or whatnot, just to get ready for school and stuff. And now Saturday, you're trying to sleep, and now your mom gets busy with all the pots and pans and dishes and whatnot. And then two hours later, after she began with that nonsense and you couldn't get that bit of sleep that you were supposed to, she wakes you up and tell you to go throw out the trash or something. The trash. You know something interesting that I recently discovered? That Afrikaans isn't the only language that drawings there are. I know. I think the Denmark, whatever language they speak there, or Iceland, they also have a bit of an R, and I suspect Germany might as well. But I'm not too sure. I have a friend of mine that's in Germany. I might as well ask him. But I'm one of those people that in every conversation we just get to I just pop up. You know, I have a friend that was in the hostel with me, or a guy that I knew. I don't know a lot of people, but the people I do know did a lot of things, or they know a lot of people. It's fun having connections. You know what? I know a guy that might supply me when a zombie apocalypse break out. And I know another guy that can't wait for the zombie apocalypse to break out because his house is basically just a storage unit for a bunch of weapons and stuff. Me personally, I would like a mace. I actually at a time thought about trying to make a game where the main weapon of the character think kind of like a Souls-like game, but instead of the main weapon being a sword, you have a mace. I like the mace. I like every weapon. I just the weight. I like the feel of the weight of it. It's like, why? But it's not going to be as much of a Souls-like because you know in certain Souls-like you can like switch between the weapons and stuff. I think you do have that bit of a RPG element in some games. I think that's cool. The new Ghost of Yotei game. You have multiple weapons, but you can only use them in certain situations. Well, I think it would be fun if you give the player multiple weapons, but they can use them freely in whatever way they want. But I'd usually take the mace. Oh, would you play a game that as a counter mechanic or a dodge mechanic? Um, but you played Bayonetta, for example.
I like counter attack.
Yeah, I also like the counter. So you give a character a shield, and then when you time it correctly, when the enemy hits you, you kind of like stun them, which gives you a chance to get them with the mace.
Skewer and space grenade and dodge and parry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like when I think of dodge, I don't know, but I automatically just think of Bayonetta. Bayonetta was such a fun game, but now Nintendo comes and kind of gatekeep everything. You heard about the all the patents they kind of paid for, game patents, just to spite Pal World. So basically what this is about, for any of you who don't really understand what I'm talking about, is what Nintendo ended up doing recently. They had this they have this beef with the game Pal World. Pal World is kind of, it's like Pokemon, but not really. It's the idea of you have animal like I almost want to say a pet, but you can do multiple things with it. It's not just like fighting. You can, I don't know that much about Pal World, but I think there's even guns involved with it. But imagine a Pokemon with a gun. But the game is doing very well, and because a lot of the characters have similarities to Pokemon and stuff like that, Nintendo kind of like, they popped the vein and got an aneurysm about it. And I went way over the line. I didn't even realize it. So Nintendo soiled themselves over it, and they decided like to patent a bunch of game mechanics. Off of the top of my head, I don't really know what all of the mechanics are. I think one of them was being the thing where you catch or collect playable characters. For example, like you do in Pokemon, you throw a Pokeball, you catch the Pokemon, and then you use the Pokemon to fight. Well, the mechanic of catching a character and using them to fight, they patent that, so it basically means other games can't use it without Nintendo's permission. And with how greedy Nintendo is, I don't think they'd be able to do that without paying a pretty decent sum. But Warner Bros, I think, did the same thing with what's the game's name? I think it's kind of like a tokenish game. Shadows of Mordor. What's the game's name? Well, yeah, it's Middle Earth Shadows of Mordor. So they basically patent this mechanic where if you certain ways you interact with certain enemies, you kind of create this rivalry system between them, which is a very interesting concept and mechanic. But they kind of patented that as well, so other games can't really use that. I think they called it what mechanic did they call it? For the lack of for a better term, I just call it the rivalry mechanic. Middle Shadow of Mordor. Nemesis mechanic. You can go Google more about that if you want. I just know the small details. I don't really know everything about it. But yeah, talking about politics within the gaming world. Yeah, it's also kind of sad to me how certain topics are just dangerous to talk about. Like you can basically start a civil war within your own chat or whatever, just speaking about wrong stuff. And E.I.E, we've been talking about making a game, and this morning I suggested to Dylan those old 2000 Slenderman games. Again, I don't know how many of you would know about it, but we have this series called Animatronic Island, which is basically a bunch of animatronics on an island. So I told them we should do something like that with the animatronics. I think the last thing I would do on Zane is the hair. Oh no, that's not a good idea. Too big. That's good. So yeah, the last thing I'm gonna do on Zane is the hair and probably his stubble. Just purely because it's a bit difficult. Actually, I've thought of doing the stubble now because I use a different brush, but I recently started experimenting with different brushes, and you should too. What's the dude's name? I'm not going to be able to pronounce that correctly. So the owner of Studio Ghibli, forgive me, Hayao Miyazaki, however you pronounce that. His famous words are, pick up a pencil. Forget about AI and that kind of stuff. Pick up a pencil. Oh, Zane, did you hear about this? Apparently AI is going to start watermarking their stuff, which I find really interesting because they're able to steal other artists' work, but we can't steal their work.
Yeah, ChatGPT is also gonna start stealing. Well, not stealing. They're gonna start watermarking their stuff. There's also a way to get around it. So you take whatever ChatGPT splurges out at you, and then you can click on this thing is called punctuality. You can just chuck it in there and it'll just rewrite everything for you. So, but watermarking art is a very good thing, I think.
Yeah, in our friend group we had this discussion earlier recently, where we talked about watermarking your art, or just putting your signature in a certain place. So there's a bunch of people that would take your, especially like when you post your art on Instagram, you don't really want to watermark the entire thing because it doesn't look good. So what you do is you take your signature and you put it somewhere in the image where it's kind of hidden, and then people would just take it and repost it and then you can say, okay, but you stole my work because my signature is right there. And it's like, ooh, sorry.
Always has a hidden signature.
Yeah, but unfortunately with AI, they kind of mutilate your image to such an extent that you can't really see the watermark on it. They completely erase it. So actually the other day I had this discussion with an AI, specifically Meta AI, which is not the smartest one, but whatever. And I asked it, what would AI's response be to finding out its servers are going to be shut down? Would it just kind of like accept it because it's wired that way? It's basically just a bunch of circuits and whatnot. It's programmed to do a certain thing, and within its programming, it's indifferent to the idea of theft, or would it or would AI on its own, without any prompt or input, just randomly reflect on the idea of death and whatnot, all that kind of stuff? And the discussion was basically a back and forth, which I kind of like expected, because and how much detail is AI going to basically go into subjects like these? You can kind of see here why I'm very hesitant to do Zane's facial hair. Probably just going to start with it. I actually should have added these facial features. You know what, I'm just gonna do it now. I completely forgot I added those. Let me just see what I did leave out. Basically, this bit of a chin, bit of a dimple. I think that's basically it. I'm just gonna have to fix. Oh crap! Never mind. I'm just gonna fix that momentarily. Actually, oh, wrong one. Can actually turn that one off. Pink. Nah, didn't be dead. Difference wise, because that little mark here basically means the chin kind of goes something like this, and that little mark is basically representing that somewhat of a bump. But since he is lifting up his head, this piece is underneath that bump. So basically what would happen is it should sit here, but then again, what happens then, the lower lip goes underneath it. So I'm tempted to just leave it like that for now. I think I am just going to do that. Then we're going to take this brush, which is my new favorite brush. I don't know, it's just very fun to use with this one. But I usually use this for facial hair and highlighting certain spots on the actual hair. So I'm just going to pull out this previous face just to use this as a reference. So we can see this is the other brush I also use to mix it in with this, but I can't see that I did use it a bit, but not that much. I just took this brush and use it, and use it extremely lightly instead of just pressing hard on it. Oh, that's a bit much. Extremely light. This is a bit of a conundrum. Probably what I'm going to do is I think I'm just gonna hide this. Put this layer, okay. And I'm gonna add another layer, just make this probably green. And do the facial layer on this layer. Yeah, I just went off topic a bit. Today is about ranting. What are we going to rant about, Zane? Dewald, what's something that grinds your gears?
One thing that grinds my gears.
Yeah.
If I don't drive properly.
No.
And then I can't find third gear, and then I grind them sometimes. If you can't find it, you gotta grind it.
No, I have this fucking problem with my car that it kind of sometimes I put it in first,
Yeah.
and then for some reason it just kicks out, or it doesn't completely go into first one. It's kind of like it's blocked, so I have to jam it to first twice or thrice before it locks in.
Cars are weird. Even mine. Sometimes it doesn't want to go in reverse, and then I have to give clutch, take a bit of clutch away, give it more, take a bit away, and then finally it just like slots into it. Otherwise I'm reversing, and the car goes nowhere. It just goes like.
Yeah, the same happens to me, and it also happens in reverse. It's like just.
And your car's also haunted.
Yeah, like actually we didn't discuss this on stream yet.
Oh, is that a story for another day?
No, we can discuss now because we still have an hour left more or less. So I have this blue Ford Figo, but we joked in the office about my car being haunted because every now and then it would just randomly go on and off. Just like you can hear the beep beep as it unlocks and locks itself again. So it's kind of weird. It's probably just a loose wire or something and it needs to get serviced. But
it's like what's the Big Bang Theory, where it's like I need to get my check engine light fixed, not my engines.
Yeah, so we made the joke that my car is haunted, and I named, because my car is blue, I named the ghost Alita. And Alita doesn't know it yet, but we're going to go on a date. I'm not a womanizer, I'm a ghostlizer.
That's, instead of ghost hunters, it's ghost blind dates.
Yeah, oh my word. We had some interesting discussions in the office. One of them were being, we were talking about tattoos and how certain people just get so aggro about tattoos. It's like, oh, it's satanic and stuff. Flowers and bees, how's that? Yeah, tattoos about flowers and bees, and had some sort of symbolism. And I mean, that's probably people that go to church but they don't read their Bible. Because if you actually read your Bible, you would have known. No, it's way back when, like even in the Old Testament, it wasn't considered morally correct to have a tattoo, but it wasn't seen as, let's say, paganish, or maybe paganish, but it wasn't seen as something that's satanic or something of any spiritual significance. There was a lot of stuff that let's say Israelites weren't permitted to do, because the whole idea was God wanted to separate his people from the rest of the other people, and the other people thought tattoos were very cool. So God's like, no, you shouldn't get tattoos because they're getting tattoos. And I want you to be like them. That's a bit too much. I'm just trying to figure out where I put these you can see some of these lines are thinner than the others. I'm just trying to figure out where I put the thin ones and the thick ones. Michelle talking about bring up tattoos again and why people think they're wrong. She basically said is back in the olden days they put a bunch of unchristian stuff also on their body with the tattoos. Not necessarily concerning but related to witchcraft and stuff like that, which is true. That's kind of why I said it has a bit of pagan connotation also related to it. But tattoos is just generally seen as bad. And so there was I think it was it's just I think it was the Mosaic Nanny. I can't pronounce it. It was the laws of Moses. I'll say it like that. There's this term out there for it that I can't pronounce. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But there was these laws, and the laws fell into kind of three groups. And it was the traditional laws, and it was the moral laws. There was the other one. But basically the whole thing about Christianity and that is when Jesus died on the cross, it's not just like more stuff happened than just we're saved and stuff like that. A whole bunch of rules got changed, and basically 2 out of those 3 sets of laws kind of expired. And if I'm getting my facts and stuff correct, tattoos were under one of the set of laws that expired, so that's why tattoos aren't really bad anymore. I mean, I feel there wasn't so many there weren't so many things that was considered sin or bad back then, but the people just threw like so many fits about stuff. I'm talking within the confines of the Bible. The people threw so much fits and stuff like that towards God, and it's like, okay, you want rules? Here's rules. You basically flooded them with it. Zane, why did I make your beard so, I almost want to say thin? Like, I know you don't actually have a thick beard, you have a stubble at the moment, but damn, boy. Yeah, I don't really know much about witchcraft and stuff like that. Oh, another concept for a game I had was, and it falls a little bit more in the, which year should I say, which age? Let's say during the, I think we can say, during the Salem witch trials, for example, or even a little bit more towards the medieval side, where narrative-wise, I thought of, you have this specific character that, like, you know, Hansel and Gretel, they were kind of like kidnapped by a witch, or held captive by a witch, not necessarily kidnapped. So it was this specific character, and she got held captive by a witch, and she kind of also got in this lucky situation where she could kind of escape and stuff. But you know, earlier we talked about the Midas touch, but I thought like the witch could have given a similar curse to the protagonist, but instead of the Midas touch, she gave her some kind of pyrokinetic powers. So the protagonists have to wear some kind of special clothing to keep her from burning down the house or something like that. Maybe like stuff a shotgun or something in her hand. that I think that's something Zane would play. And we don't even have to make it a AAA game. We can, it doesn't have to start out that way. I think a lot of amazing big time projects actually start out as passion projects and just stuff that's made for fun and whatnot, small studios and stuff. This is also kind of like a sad case, because a lot of those properties, if they do well, they get bought by bigger companies, and the reason these people sell their projects out so easily is because of the money that's being thrown their direction, or the offers, which is understandable, because that means they can use those funds to further develop their project. But at the end of the day, what it also means is they're very limited in their creative process, where when they created this project, they could do whatever they want with it because it's theirs. But when you sell it over, then it's not yours anymore. You made it, but it's not yours, and you can only do to it what the owners of this property now allow you to do, even though you know what's best for this project. That's kind of sad in my opinion. Now you see here, these go down and these go sideways. So how am I going to integrate that? Oh, I think I know. just going to that's gonna end up going a bit far. So yeah, I think if and it's especially the projects they buy are usually smaller projects. It's indie projects, but it's they buy it because it's successful, but then they themselves don't know how to handle the project or know why it's successful, and they just basically mess it up for everyone. Because now you're ruining the name of the project, and you're ruining the name of your own company, if I can put it like that. See, now also the problem is here almost go to the dimple, but how am I going to push this to there unless I start from down here? It's not too bad, it's okay. Again, the green part doesn't have to be perfect, it's just for planning out how this is supposed to go. Previously I did talk about other brush. This is the one I use, it's basically just a pen. And if I look here on Zane's face, you can see I used it there. It basically goes up here. I'm doing it very roughly, so it's not on the exact spots, but if you look carefully, you can see it. But then again, you also have to kind of know what you're looking for. So I might just use this brush to kind of separate the head from the neck. I did think I used it quite a bit here, the mustache. I don't think so. I think I did ruin the mustache a bit by overusing the brush. I think what would be better use of it would be sparingly, like this, instead of those bunch of lines I did. Also, this is not going to work for me. Because as you can see here, the sideburns kind of climb up. So if I look at it from that angle, it kind of needs to go like that. So I need to take this brush again. And just take it like that. And within art, I don't know if you noticed, we talk about, I think it's called tangents, but basically the rule is when you have a corner or a line of an object and you draw another object then that maybe goes like this, you can't draw it in a way that it combines with this line. what needs to happen instead when you draw this, it kind of needs to go behind the object. And when you have a sharp point, you can't have another sharp point to connect to that. And that's kind of what happens here, because the outline of the hair kind of stops where the beard kind of starts. So I'm just going to put some random hairs into there and kind of work it inwards. It's just visually more appealing. Again, I'm erasing and checking a lot of things just so I can mimic this side of the beard correctly, because it doesn't go straight up like that, kind of have a build up. But yeah, again, we had an interesting conversation today again, talking about folklore, mythology and stuff like that. I did not promote this idea. I do not care. I do care how you get it, but I say do not care because I'm hinting toward a specific way how to get this stuff. Try to get your hands on the Book of the Brothers Grimm and the Poetic Edda. Those are fun to read. Me myself, I'm not a big reader, but even I got so intrigued with the Brothers Grimm books, I ended up reading it. That just tells you how not necessarily good, but fascinating those stories are. Like pen again. And we also used it on the neck beard. Yeah, I think that looks a bit more like Zane. Well, he does have a little bit of a gap there. Probably should try to fill that in. Not quite sure how to tackle that. Just like say we do it like that for now. When I actually fill it in, it probably look better. What's Zane? Oh no, Zane's not here. Okay, I'm gonna ask the chat. Do you guys any specific topics you want to talk about for the last half hour? Because I know some of you have some interesting ideas. We can talk about my voice. What about my voice? Somebody in the chat just made a comment about my voice. All of a sudden I feel very insecure. I know within my voice, sometimes when I tend to talk about the subject matter that I feel passionate about, I do tend to speak a bit faster and my tone is a bit louder, and I think my voice maybe tends to go a bit higher. I don't know. My general way of speaking, I talk a bit slow and in a bit of a deeper-ish voice. And when I listen to my own voice, this is one of the reasons why I don't actually rewatch the stream. It's because I can't handle my own voice. It irks me, if I can put it like that, because my normal way of speaking, I talk a bit slow and sluggish, with my voice being a bit more on the, I wouldn't say my voice is deep, but it's on the deeper end of the spectrum, and those two combined make me really sound like kind of like I lack a few IQ points. So I do also have a other way of speaking where my voice isn't deep like this, where it's more like this. It's a bit of a higher tone, but it's also when I speak this specific way, my voice is a bit more. My tone specifically is a bit more louder, while where I speak normally, it's a bit more lower. But this is, I also just speak this way when I'm just generally chill. But yeah, it's kind of really strange to just have an entire conversation about my own voice. But I feel a lot of people are like that, where they kind of feel in a certain way self-conscious about their voice, but I actually do feel self-conscious about my voice.
And yet, in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why? It's really something to see constantly how many people.
And I just realized I misread the comment. She didn't say she wants to talk about my voice. The comment said my choice of discussion. Well, we made it about my voice, so that's a few minutes of my life wasted about ranting about something just random, instead of actually talking about something interesting like philosophy and different types of views on life, like stoicism and absurdism, nihilism. I think nihilism is some people are going to get mad at me, but nihilism is a route people should, for the most part, try to avoid. It's a very depressing road to go down. And I think in today's day and age, a lot of the youth tend to go down that road, generally because of the way life is now and the economy, stuff like that, and just general stuff they have to deal with. You don't know what nihilism is. It's just the general belief that nothing in the universe matters, and so basically nothing you do matters. Oh damn. And so in that belief system, there's no any value connected, because nothing matters. There's no value connected to anything, and it psychologically it kind of breaks you down when you think about your own life doesn't have any inherent value. You're just dead, something. And you're going to die one day, and even if you leave some trace behind on the earth, some record of you did exist over a few centuries or whatnot, your name will be forgotten. And I think for most people that's an actual fear. But when you get past the sense of nihilism, you kind of need to realize that at the end of the day, you shouldn't worry about what is actually what has value and what value your life has. At the end of the day, if you decide your life has no value, your life doesn't have any value, but in the end of the day, you need to decide your own value and what you find valuable.
Beertjie.
What Afrikaans word do you want to learn today?
What is beard in Afrikaans?
What?
A beard. What is a beard in Afrikaans?
A bar.
A bard, yeah. Oh, I know that, bro. Cause is it a hot sauce brand called Roy Bards, or is it a whiskey?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
think it's a sauce. I saw it at the Potbelly Cafe.
Talking about red beard.
Yes.
Do you know the tale of Bluebeard?
Mhm.
This is a messed up one. So basically, it's basically this family. I think it's two brothers and a sister, and they kind of live in poverty. And within the town, there's this one guy called Bluebeard, and he has basically this beautiful voice that it just attracts women. And he's very well off. He's a rich dude, but the problem is he marries women, and then after he married them, they just kind of you never see them again. So one day he started singing again, and the sister kind of gets engulfed in the voice, and so they get married, and the brothers are, you know what, this is a cool thing because now as brothers-in-laws we get some cash and stuff. And at some point Bluebeard told the sister, okay, here's some keys to the manor, you can do whatever you want, I don't care. He's going on a business trip, so he told her, you can do whatever you want while I'm gone, it's just that specific room, you do not go into that room. And so a week goes by and 2 weeks go by, and as the weeks go by, her curiosity kind of grew and stuff, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to go into the room. And she opens the room, and when she opened the room, she basically sees all the other wives just dead, hanging from meat hooks.
Oh shit.
And she startled so bad she actually drops the keys, and the keys drops into a pool of blood. And I think it's some sort of magic keys or something, but the blood actually stains the key red. And she tried to scrub it off so bad you can actually see the bones on her finger. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna get killed, I'm gonna get killed. And when the dude actually came back from the trip, he's like, oh, you messed up. You saw what's in the room, so I got a beat hook for you too. And she starts yelling for her brothers and stuff, and they hear her yelping. And just right before he went and lopped off her head, the brothers came and chopped off his head. And his last words was, can you please go get the salt and rub it on my neck? I thought that was funny. I don't know how the people thought of these stories back then, man.
Yeah, I have no idea.
What
They bored.
Yeah, what would be the moral in a story like that?
Curiosity killed the cat.
Curiosity killed the cat. But then again, she didn't actually face any consequences.
Almost.
Almost. It's fine to be curious if you have two older brothers. That's the moral of the story. If you don't, then don't be curious. I think a lot of scientists then have older siblings or whatnot. I don't know if this is actually a theory or just a skit, but there was this thing about Isaac Newton stealing the theory of gravity from other scientists, and I think there was some form of envy, or such a form of envy that I think Isaac Newton basically burnt all forms of portraits or whatever from this guy, so there's no actual record of how he even looked. So spiteful to the next level. So yeah. Dude, I have so many topics that I want to talk about, but I know I'm not allowed to talk about them. Especially because of the fact that a lot of them are so controversial. But that's why I want to talk about them. Because I'm also one of those people that just likes to make trouble because I can. And especially this is at home with my little sister, I would do my best to annoy the living hell out of her. But there's not actually any bad blood, it's just sibling stuff. If you're somebody with siblings, I've noticed this, people that they don't have any siblings, they don't really get sibling bickering. They think it's like full-on arguments and stuff. But it's just bickering. And I mean, I promise you, I won't kill my little sister. If you want, you can take it with a grain of salt. There's been a lot of taking stuff with a grains of salt today. But I at least don't think I'll kill her. Damn, wrong brush. I'm so used to using that specific brush that kind of just randomly selected. Also something about sibling bickering. This is also a bit of a cultural thing. I did previously talked about South Africa and its different provinces, but also each province has its own little bit of a culture, and sometimes they tend to have some forms of conflict. Again, I say this a lot, but where I came from was a little bit of a, let's say, the redneck part of South Africa. So we were a lot, well, we are a lot more, you know, let's put it like this: we value fact over emotion. Like, we can still be empathetic and stuff like that towards other people, but we aren't going to lie to you in your face to just kind of save your feelings and stuff. So when me and my little sister are bickering, we do say some insulting stuff that has some truth to it, and it's just jokingly, because she said something to me, I said something to her, now we're on equal grounds. But we are currently in another province. That's where the office is based, and I did notice a lot of people in this province as kind of the opposite idea of, we value your emotions over the truth kind of thing. So when they see us bickering, they're just like, oh, they're so mean to each other. Also, another thing about my backwater province that I'm from, we are very harsh. So we won't just go and just like, oh, but you stubbed your toe, you need to go to the hospital. We're more of a, you bloody hell stubbed your toe, go to the hospital, you're bleeding all over my furniture. Those types of people. And I mean, everybody has their culture, but you kind of do need to be respectful to other people's cultures. But I'd say that should be common sense, but apparently it's not. If you don't understand other people's culture, or you struggle to understand it, just accept it for what it is. They're happy with their culture, and if they are happy with their culture and they don't want to change it, then leave it be. They're happy the way they are, and it's not our job to interfere and decide, oh, the way we think are better, because at the end of the day, it's the same way. They think their culture is better and we think ours is better, so whose is actually better? Because if you want to go ahead and change other people's culture, why would it be wrong for other people to come in and change ours if they think theirs are superior? You see? As I just be respectful towards everyone else, and if I treat you with, unless you're being an ale, if I treat you with respect, then I kinda expect the same form of treatment and respect to come my direction. And if it doesn't, if you're being an ale to me, I'm gonna be an ale to you. That's just my view on things. I was nice to you, and if you want to throw that in my face, then fine. Then you have to expect the consequences, because there will be. Because I probably have a shotgun hiding somewhere in my boots. A pisang. I don't even know how to take that comment. A pisang meaning a banana. Somebody commented a pisang. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about the banana. And I don't know I don't know if I should take that literally, or if I should take that emoji and interpret it as something else. Because based on previous comments, I know how this specific person thinks. And I don't know what I'm supposed to expect now or react to now. As a good thing, you can't see my face because I'm a bit flustered at the moment. And I promise what I'm doing is I'm working on a type of mask that I can wear during stream, and we can adjust the camera in such a way where my face is visible and the keyboard is visible. The mask would allow my eyes to be visible and my mouth, but the rest of my face will be covered. So it's kind of like a sense, you can see my facial expressions, but you won't be able to make out my facial features because I'm very camera shy, and this is just, I would like to interact with people more, but this is just kind of a way for me to get comfortable and ease into the whole streaming thing, because I have gotten comfortable with the idea of talking on stream, but the idea of having my face shown on stream is still a bit, for lack of a better term, overwhelming. Okay, let's see how Zane looks when I turn off this. Yeah, okay, Zane looks like Zane. Yep. You wanna come check? I'm just gonna put up this layer I used as a reference. This dude is in anguish.
Yeah, dude, that was me the other day.
What happened?
I don't remember. It was so traumatic, I forgot.
Or it's just not PG-13. He got up in the morning and he grabbed the banana and accidentally got it stuck in his zipper. I guess that's what happened. Because that's the facial expression I would have made if that happened to me. Ah, damn it. Also, something I would like to do in the future is ask Daniël to work on the playlist, because I can imagine I'm not even wearing my headphones now, because I know if I'm gonna wear my headphones I'm gonna hear the background music, and I understand listening to something on repeat the entire time can get a little bit overwhelming. So I'll ask Daniël to in the future work on the playlist a bit, just to mix things up. Yes. Yo. I hope that the next session Zane could be a bit more interactive. But last Friday we had a bit of a bout that was. I basically roasted the living hell out of him, and he just sat there speechless, and all he could say was, "You know, I don't think I'm such a bad guy." And it's become kind of like an inside joke within the chat and stuff that Zane has this amazing lasagna, or he can make amazing lasagna. So we did discuss this in the future. We are going to make stickers, and one of them are going to be lasagna. The other one would probably be the E.I.E logo. I don't know what the rest is going to be. Hopefully bionicle. Fun fact, I am I am a huge Bionicles fan. Some of you probably don't know what I'm gonna talk about, but back in the day they had, it's a Lego thing. It's a product that Lego made, but they discontinued it because people got a little bit too creative with it and made NSFW models out of the characters weren't made out of bricks. They had this special type of, you know what, actually I'm just gonna Google it. Why not? Where is the good image? Oh, this is, I'm just gonna pull up Pinterest quickly, just to show you actually what Bionicle is. It's figurines like this. It's still Lego, you build them together, but you can see the parts, they aren't bricks, they're kind of, it's interesting. But yeah, back in the day I was a huge
Bionicles.
Bionicle
Woo!
fan.
Bionicles were the shit, man.
Yeah, but basically I went to Pinterest. Come here and look. I went to Pinterest and I typed in Bionicles, and they showed me the reason why they discontinued Bionicle.
Oh yeah, dude. Look at that. Good heavens.
Like, people are really creative.
You know. Dude, that should be the reason for me to bring it back.
That should be a reason to
Right.
bring it back,
That's
because
true.
the audience grew up.
Yeah, dude,
They need to know who their audience are.
the audience know what they want.
But yeah, I was a big Bionicles fan back in the day. If they decide to bring it back, I'll buy Bionicle again.
Since I didn't have a job when I was toy.
Yeah, same. Dude, the Euro Factory set. The Euro Factory set, I was obsessed with that. It was the Euro Factory.
I can't remember that set by name.
There was usually, yeah, this was one of them. They basically have you each set. There was different sets of them. The first one, I think it was all of them basically, but you get 6 heroes and
Yeah.
6 villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this was one of the first sets villain. There was specific one that I really liked. It was a yellow one.
There was
Oh, this red one was also
the
quite thick.
Parakas. They are Parakas. I remember the name of those Parakas. But then, wait, no, those weren't Parakas. No, sorry.
No, there was the main storyline, and then the Hero Factory was its own separate thing.
Yeah.
And again, these people are just so creative. This is actually pretty sick.
Yeah, that is pretty sick.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to end today's stream there. So I'm just going to thank everyone for joining us, and thank you for all the followers. And Zane says thank you. Again, if you want to go watch some of Zane's video, you can check it out on E.I.E Gaming. This stream will be posted on E.I.E Crew on YouTube, and you can also check Zane on Twitch as JoyBoyZ, correct?
Yep.
JoyBoyZ. So with that, I thank everyone, and I hope you have a blessed rest of